Let's bow our heads. Oh, gracious Father, thank you for this wonderful rainy day, oh Lord, for we know we will need it in the long run. Lord, we ask you to protect the parish, oh Father. Have a wholehearted hand over the whole world, oh Father. Protect us all, oh Father, us and our family and our friends and loved ones. Guide us and direct us in the path that we need to go. In your Lord, our Son's name, amen.
Amen.
Follow me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, any additions and deletions to the road committee? Being none, any guests and public comments from anyone? Okay, being none, agenda item number 1, discuss parish-wide cover program. And I think Mr. Michael Norton is gonna go in depth.
Yeah, I have some details I want to share with you. Now, each juror, y'all have a packet behind your agenda that's on your cubicle there. You have Title 334884, which discusses culverts related to municipal and parish governments. This section of law gives the jury direction on what you can do as it relates to culverts, granting the police jury, parish governments the authority to regulate ordinances for the installation of culverts that are to the benefit of the public at large. You also have a copy of the ordinance that was drafted by the jury. It's setting the minimum culvert size for the parish. As well, I've provided you guys copies of six items over the years going back to 2002. In your binder of actions that the jury has taken related to culverts. Actually, one of them was, we just found another one. When we run our query in the system, we run culverts, we run likes words to try to find actions that the jury's taken. So I just received this one. I can give a copy of this. Carrie can make copies if y'all want a copy of it. It's action that y'all took in 2009. But item 1 was in April of 2002. It amended the ordinance on the culvert size to include penalties. The next one was in May of 2002. It's basically stating that nothing over 2 loads of, noting that over 2 loads of dirt, nothing over 2 loads of dirt is to be used to cover culverts related to parish-wide culvert installations. September of 2009, the jury adopted the item states the jury is to adopt a formal policy that incorporates a 3-prong test and a CEA related to culvert installation, but there is no 3-prong test defined. This is just in the minutes, and we don't have that policy. And that item wasn't even voted on. That was just like a discussion item. And then item 4 was in November of 2009. It gets some of the it sets some of the parameters for culvert length and diameters and the type of culvert, etc. The 5th item was in January of 2018. So we jumped from 2009 to 2018 without any language specific to culvert installations. Where y'all made a motion to terminate driveway culvert replacement program on non-parish roads due to excess costs and time. And that one right there was specifically, you know, when y'all ask, hey, can we do a culvert on Highway 175? I know we've done that. You know, Mr. Ernell had that one done. We bring it to the jury because y'all have a policy directing us not to do this in 2018. So the purpose of this meeting is to get y'all in a room. We could have drafted a resolution to kind of collate all this information, but, you know, really want the jury's feedback on a parish-wide culvert installation program. This was actually one of the jurors contacted me and asked me to do this. So, I mean, I don't mind throwing that juror on the bus. I think he didn't mind at all. He was like, Nick Raines, he's like, do we have a policy? I said, no, we don't. We don't have anything official. We've taken a lot of action over the years. We don't have anything official because it seems to be a hot topic. Things come up. Y'all want to install culverts installed, and we need a little direction. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael Reister. He's got some ideas and thoughts he would like to share with y'all as well.
All right.
Now, the direction we've been looking into this is, the request for existing culverts as well as the placement of new culverts. I think the discussion on new culverts can be very easily addressed. We can adopt a access connection permit / driveway permit, whatever terminology we want to use to phrase the title of that permit. But we can have a permit process for all new driveways. One of the main concerns we've had with driveways is making sure the culvert's sized properly, that it's placed properly in the ditch. We've tried to push our ditch back off the road since we're not maintaining on some of these roads that are not maintaining with a motor grader anymore. We can get that ditch further off, get that culvert further off the road and so forth like that. So we'd like to use that permit process to help specify those things, the proper width of a driveway, and so forth like that. So that's kind of the direction that we're thinking on new culvert installations. That permit can also reference existing. So if someone wants to request an existing culvert be replaced or an existing driveway be upgraded and so forth, that can be part of the permit process as well. I pulled an example from DOTD and Jefferson Parish. It's a pretty common tool. One of my biggest fears is just simply how to administer it. We have to have somebody here in the office to receive those permits, review them and approve them and get them back to the resident and so forth. That's been one of the biggest holdups on this. I think it's something at least I've had in the back of my mind that we've needed for quite some time. And that would, Mr. Phillip with the road department has tried to take a lot of that on himself so he can make sure that those culverts are installed properly. This would be taking a load off of him and putting it in this permitting process, and let the residents or those home builders or whoever it may be install that driveway, install that culvert themselves based on that permit, and we can hold them to that language in the permit to make sure it's installed properly. And of course, we have to put some teeth in there, some kind of way of if it's not installed properly, if they do it without and some of that will have to be hashed out in the future. I think some of the main discussion might be today is those existing culverts. What do we want to do as far as replacing those existing culverts? The law addresses it to a very small extent, but it gives y'all a lot of flexibility, I think, on what we're going to do when that resident calls and says, hey, I got this old corrugated metal pipe that's rotted out under this concrete driveway. Are we to go in there and replace that corrugated metal pipe and repave their driveway? Are we to do anything, first of all? Do we want to even tackle that or leave it on the resident? It's one first question. The second question would be, do we want to replace that culvert and just put back stone, and then it'd be on them to repave the driveway? Because the paving's by far the largest expense we're experiencing with the culvert program that we currently have. So those are some things that we can talk about and discuss tonight on which direction y'all would like to go. But that'd be my suggestion, is us to work on a permit process for the new installations. And then also, like I said, it can spill over to the existing as well. But if the road department's going to be working on some of those existing locations, we need a little direction on to what extent we want to get involved in those existing locations. Did that summarize it pretty well?
Yeah, and the purpose of the permit is, we're not asking the public to pay for that permit. That's a free application. You come and get your permit. It's just to give parameters, set parameters. Hey, this is the minimum culvert size. We need to go out and shoot grade on that. Either the road department does that or the parish engineer does that. Give us the parameters that allows us to make sure, and documenting this. We have documentation of all the work we've been doing, because believe it or not, we don't get the documentation for everything. Sometimes the work orders are incomplete, and that's a concern. If we have something like this would have
And on the larger scale, this would benefit us if we were to have an oil field facility such as, best example I can come up with would be a saltwater production facility or collection facility. If we had someone wanted to construct one of those within the parish, they'd have to come before us to request that access permit or that driveway permit. And we could use that permitting process to evaluate the truck volume that's going to be coming down that road and have some, have that as, that would be a benefit of the driveway permit as well. Be able to control some of those access requirements for those heavy commercial sites.
We're open for discussion.
What are you gonna do about all these roads that you talk about? You can't find the paperwork and this ain't in the system, and then these people being denied. What you gonna do about those culverts?
Well, first, we're gonna have to decide what we wanna do about the process of a culvert. Say in my opinion, I think we should continue doing what we're doing. The existing culverts, we change them. And as far as the material on top, we've been putting rock, or if they got concrete or asphalt, we just been doing that script as well. I mean, I know, I hate to put that on the property owners, because at the end of the day, it's our ditch
Yep,
from the start.
it's on the right of way.
And just say you install a culvert, they come and put concrete on top of it, well, we know stain's gonna settle. 3 months down the road, concrete breaks and pop, you know? So, I mean, even if they do it or we do it, things like that gonna happen, they gonna call us back. Or they might put concrete or asphalt on it too soon. You know, we're not gonna do it, we're gonna let it settle before we try to do that, you know?
Well, you know, the situation would be, you have a new subdivision, they request a driveway permit, their home builder installs a new driveway, say it's 30 feet wide. In some of these subdivisions, the new trending thing is to have double car parking in their driveway, so they're 30 feet wide driveways, some of them. And in 10, 15 years down the road, that metal culvert is rotted out. Do we want to replace 20 feet by 30 foot of concrete paving? Because they asked us to replace that metal culvert. The rural situations are a lot easier. These more urban situations are where the cost really rises.
Okay.
I think first off, we should be requiring them to be something besides metal.
Plastic.
And that can be done through the
Something
permit
that will
process as
last.
well.
And that way it doesn't rot out. And, second of all, I think we need to let the driveway be on the homeowner. You know, if it's cement or asphalt or whatever, if we have to come replace it, we're replacing it for them. But it wouldn't matter if they replaced it or we replaced it. If we did away with the replacement at all, they're gonna have to replace that driveway. So they're gonna do it regardless, but I feel like that should be on the homeowner. You know, I don't know if insurance covers things like that or not, but irregardless, that's homeowners' expense.
I have a question. For example, I know on Division, there's going to be some work because of the water drainage right there at the end of Division and 171. Now, I have a driveway, so I'm just trying to see, you guys, they're going to fix this to keep that drainage, somehow work that drainage out. So am I responsible? Will I be responsible for replacing my portion of my driveway? That's,
I think I'm glad you brought that
That
up,
is-
because that's something good to point out. If the parish, the city, or I can't speak for the city, if the parish is conducting a project to realign a ditch, to increase the grade of that ditch, to widen a roadway, any type of jury-funded, jury-approved project, it would be on the jury, in my opinion,
Okay.
to replace everything 100% in kind if we damaged it or so forth. That would be a completely different scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Same way with the fence along the right of way and the trees that's gotta be removed, all that would be the owner of the
no,
road.
yeah,
Right,
it's-
and not,
Man, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have the police jury would have a legal responsibility to do that, because otherwise it would be a taking, essentially.
That's-
So if we go in and do anything that would result in, detriment to the homeowner's, property, we'd have the restoration obligation under the law.
Because I'm right in the middle of that one.
Yeah, we mostly trying to focus on the individuals, you know, deals.
Okay.
Don't all of them be on the right of way, don't they? Don't you have to install a culvert on the right of way?
Yeah, but not like, in her situation, they gonna probably do 8, 10 of them, one time. We talking about just one individual home. Cause it's a project deal, several homes involved.
And what are the standards by the state as far as being in the DOT right of way that we have to comply with as well?
Well, yeah,
Permitting.
I mean, do they require a permit up front, or they want to be
Yeah.
notified, so I mean, how do they do it?
the way the state would require a permit up front, and the way they take it to the extreme of being hands-off with their, DOT treats their right-of-way as their domain. If you want access in their domain, you have to request access, and they'll grant you a driveway. And you're at their privilege in their right-of-way. And if anything happens to that driveway, it's at your cost, 100%, no matter what. They're not touching it. And, of course, if a construction project was to damage it, they would replace it and so forth like that. But they do no driveway maintenance whatsoever. But they, like I said, they're the extreme.
But they want it to a certain standard.
Right, yeah.
They want to dictate what they're going to tell you to do.
Right, they'll require you to put asphalt paving so far back from the shoulder and so forth like that, so you don't have rocks spilling out on the road and things like that. And that's details that we can get into with our driveway permit process.
Yeah, and that's the details we're going to have to get into in order to do some of these repairs for people if that's what we vote to do.
Right.
We got to know those. I think we need to know those prior to making a decision whether we want to do it or not, because all that costs money.
Well, right now, the only details that we have that's anything more than the minimum of stone would be our commercial driveways that we require from the mostly oil and gas facilities. We require them to pave back how far?
25 feet.
25 feet. We require some form of paving off the roadway, 25 feet. And that's mainly to keep that rock from spilling out in the road and so forth
turning
like
radius.
that. And
Creating road
yeah,
hazards.
yeah, and give you some of that edge of the roadway, some structure and so forth. That's the only thing currently we have on the books that would require a pavement to go back. The rest of it would be, we're replacing in kind to what the customer, or what the resident had. And, whether it be asphalt, rock, or concrete and so forth.
So when we replace one, do we provide the culvert or the customer provides the culvert?
We provide on a replacement,
Yeah, on existing.
Existing, we pay for it,
but if it's a new construction, the homeowner
homeowner.
pays for the culvert.
So if we went and replaced the culvert and just put a load SB2 on it and let them handle the concrete side, then both of
They
us
say
have a
they
little
would
skin
do
in
it
the game.
anyway.
Yeah.
So,
And I did reach out to Caddo Parish and ask them how they did it. And that's basically what they told me that, they'll go out there and replace the culvert. Resident provides it, they'll replace the culvert, backfill it with stone and dirt and so forth, and then that resident will repave it.
I called a gentleman over in Ruston, and they on the concrete driveways, they actually pay a company to come in and saw it to remove it and then replace it with rock. And it's up to the property owner to pour that little bit of concrete, but they got in so much trouble with them trying to break the concrete, they just hired a subcontractor to come in and saw it where it was a clean cut.
and that's typical a lot of times when we have to replace a concrete drive. We're gonna take out way more than
Yeah,
what we
you're
should
not
have.
gonna be
because
lucky
it's-
enough to have a joint right there, so you're gonna
Right,
have to make
it's,
one.
and you don't know how it was put in initially, and it breaks, and you end up making a way larger spot than what you intended.
Yeah.
But I guess just to start making some headway on the discussion, would y'all agree that we need to remove ourselves from the new culvert installation process and replace that with a permit? Would y'all be agreeable with that mindset?
Yes.
You said move away from the
Removing, you just,
new
No,
culvert,
remove ourselves, stop performing new culvert installations.
from
is
new
what I mean.
build
I'm sorry.
homes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not us.
Yeah, a new subdivision, we shouldn't touch a culvert inside it.
Right.
A new home being built, we shouldn't touch a
Oh,
culvert going into a new home,
Oh,
a
that's-
new business. We have a permit process, where they'll request a permit from us, and then that'll dictate how they install it themselves.
Right. That's to go with the,
Why would we
make the homeowner or the business buy the culvert the first time, but then we pay for it the second time.
Because the idea of resting in our right of way, it becomes our responsibility. First time, it's
I
not
think
our
we need to
responsibility.
be more like the
That's,
state.
that's what the jury's done in the past.
I think we need to be more like the state. That's our domain. We're giving you permission to put a culvert there. It's your driveway, it's your culvert, you put it in, you install it, you take care of it from now on.
I feel like it's kind of
Wash
like
our hands of it.
buying a pair of boots. I mean, you buy a pair of boots, you wear them out, you buy another pair of boots.
That's correct.
You know, you don't, that's just my thinking.
I think the only thing we need to do is with that permit process, is have some guidelines, how big the culvert needs to be, how long the culvert needs to be. Think we need to make them have caps on the end to protect them, so that when they turn in with a boat or a RV trailer or whatever, and that goes off the end of the culvert, it don't mash it in, break it in or anything. It's got those caps on it where keeps the dirt from washing down in it. It's got a slant to it. I think we need to, on new subdivisions, if they're gonna cement it, well, if we get out of the business of replacing them, it don't really matter. But if we stay in the business of replacing them, needs to be a joint. How much room do you need to replace that culvert? 10 feet? So put a joint on both sides. If there's not a joint installed on both sides, we're not touching it. You cut it up. You
And
know,
also the distance on that right-of-way, because we all know we've got to start expanding that right-of-way. So the placement of that culvert's important as well. None of these roads are wide enough. None of them. Some of them are, people have to stop, pull over to somebody's driveway and let somebody else pass. So at some point in time, we're gonna have to address that. So might as well start, if we do a permit process, to go ahead and expand that right-of-way, just get ready for that.
That's been one of the big pushes why we've been so hands-on with some of the new culverts, because we're trying to push them back off that road a little bit, get them out of that ditch that's hugging that road 2 feet off the ditch and get them 8, 10 feet off the road.
And that may mean we have to start buying some of those right-of-ways.
Right.
Because you're gonna be encroaching on someone's property, they're gonna wanna butt heads with that, and I think it's only fair that we reimburse them for the property we're purchasing that we're gonna maintain from then on.
I think we was okay, with all the culvert installments up until a lot of subdivision appeared. I think we kinda need to get it out, get out of the subdivision, stick with the rural areas and doing what we doing, and just don't touch it in the subdivision.
Well, I don't think it's fair to the rural people or to the subdivision people to differentiate the two. I think if you're gonna do one, you do them all. And
I
don't
think you're
we
right
need-
there. I think if,
I don't think we need to do any.
I think if you're going to get out of the culvert business, get out of the culvert business.
Legally, I think it would be difficult to differentiate unless if you differentiate between commercial and residential, I think you could do that. But I think residential needs to be treated uniformly in terms of the new installation, and then, there are reasons that you could differentiate, reinstalls, but I think you'd have to have a uniform approach on the residential situation. So if a permit's required, it's
Well,
required.
even at that, you could still split hairs. People are running businesses out of their homes. So, I mean,
No,
I'm just saying it could get ugly.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, what I was actually agreeing with you more than not. I don't think you can
Understand.
distinguish between a rural homeowner and a
Right,
subdivision new installation unless there was a rational government reason for making that differentiation on the new install. So the safer approach, I would think, would be, all need to go through this permit, whether commercial or residential. And then, it would be difficult to craft a policy that would be legally acceptable, I think, if you didn't do a all kind of
Correct.
approach.
Correct. And I think if we got out of the culvert replacement business, we might have more money to actually fix the roads, to widen the roads and expand some of those right-of-ways. Make it safer for the traveling public.
And if we go
So
ahead.
we really talking about abandonment, right? I mean, cause it's laws. For a matter of fact, I've been researching what the laws are, like the road I'm talking about, but if we maintain a road for 3+ years, that road becomes ours. And we ain't got to do nothing but get 2-3 people say, yep, we maintain it.
We're talking about driveways, not.
Okay.
But with driveways, culvert, it don't make no difference, it's still abandonment, there's certain laws we have to do to be able to do that. You just can't do it, and we said, well, bam, we just gonna get out the business. You can't do that, the law says you have to notify people, it's stuff we gonna have to do in order to do that.
If I may, the first thing I think that we're talking about is just the permitting of the process of the culverts. And so that wouldn't implicate any of the issues that you just raised in your concerns, Ms. Burrell. That may be other issues. But in terms of new culvert installations and requiring permitting and for the homeowners to bear the installation, all installation issues, that none of those concerns are implicated in that. So I think that was the first issue that Michael was trying to kind
I
of
thought
get
you
going.
said new and old, I thought they said get out the business period.
Driveways, just.
The
not
driveway,
paying
that's
the
what I'm
roads.
saying, get out the
Not
culvert
public
business.
roads, just driveways.
Well, if
Strictly
we
preferring
stay
driveways.
if we stay with the current culvert, say we stay in the culvert business, I guess is what we're on, but I do feel like the homeowner should have some skin in the game, just by human nature. If we have skin in the game as far as paying for the culvert, I'd feel like most people would maintain their culvert a lot better, rather than just knowing, hey, my culvert's going out, the parish is gonna replace it, I don't have to worry about maintaining it. So I feel like if we stay helping the people with the culverts, we probably need to get it to where they have some type of skin in the game, like providing the culvert and we go in and provide the service of installing it.
What do you do about if it's concrete or asphalt? Do you put the rock
That-
on it and then
Yep.
that's their
Yeah.
responsibility?
Yep. So for discussion.
Well, how much does it cost? Well, if you had to average what it costs to pull an existing culvert out, buy the culvert, put it back in, what's an average cost so we kind of understand?
What's 30 foot of culvert cost?
Typically, a 15-inch side drain, driveway covered, in and out with labor, material, and equipment, $600 to $1,000.
And that's
Just
not
replace-
including the concrete.
No, that's not, no
Yeah.
concrete.
And I think we're not talking about, I think we are talking about not providing concrete.
Right.
Because a rural driveway on Storm Fryerson Road the other day cost us over $8,000.
Yeah. See, I was expecting a little bit more, but still, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of culverts.
How many culverts do we do a year?
Oh, no, a bunch.
So again, if we go with the permit fee, that means the homeowner have guidelines that we're gonna make. They handle that, correct?
Right.
But we got to have some type of teeth in it.
Right,
policing.
right. Yeah.
Because Joe Public's gonna come put in,
Well,
At
if
some
I
point.
guess if it's
or not put it at elevations, or.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm getting. Somebody gonna have to come and inspect
You know
it.
what I'm saying?
So that's another person or somebody.
It sounds like we could
Little
almost
call.
pay for that person
Yeah, that's
we
what
got
I'm
out of the
calling.
culvert business.
Yeah.
But if it's inspected and it's not what the permit requires it to be, then we can wash our hands of it forever, correct?
I haven't looked
Can
in.
you, I mean,
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
if it's in your public right of way, it could endanger or jeopardize the road surface itself or the public by flooding.
Yep.
So
That's what
you
I'm
have to
saying.
have, hey, we're gonna go in here and fix it right, and you're paying the bill.
Yeah.
It worries me in the future if we were to continue the replacing of the pavement, because, you can drive around some of these new subdivisions and it's like I said, it's the ongoing trend. Everybody built a 15-foot wide driveway, and you see contractors in most of these subdivisions adding a wing onto them, and they're doubling the length of that culvert and that driveway width right there, which it might be stopped if we did the driveway permit process, but that's a like I said, a 30-foot driveway we'd have to replace if we're to go in there and have to replace that culvert in the future. Which, I mean, even if we were to move to replacing the culvert and only putting back rock, we still have the expense of removing that concrete, loading it on the truck, digging it out, replacing the culvert, and then, you know, placing the rock back
Or
in that
could we put
location.
the full expense of the concrete, the removal, and the new on the homeowner? When they get it opened up, we'll come replace the culvert?
Yeah, it could, I mean, if you're gonna have a level of coordination where you're talking reimbursements and things like that, just let them reimburse a contractor, you know, and just pay them.
No, I
to-
didn't say reimburse,
Yeah,
just them handle it.
Yeah,
But if they don't handle it, you still have an issue of your road
Exactly.
being washed out or not draining and flooding the neighbor's yard because they won't get off their tail and hire somebody to come take the concrete out.
a good happy medium would be, if we're gonna replace culverts, it's not replace the pavement, you know, just put back stone on every driveway, and they have to worry about their pavement structure.
Right.
And then, of course, in that permit
I'm in agreement with that.
process, you know, we use the HP storm pipe, which shouldn't rot.
Right.
Now, it's not burn proof. In the rural areas, people have a tendency to burn leaves out in the ditch and burn the cover up.
Yep.
But
Sure
in the
Well, we
event
just
that,
shouldn't be responsible for anything
no,
at that
no,
point.
no, that's happened several times. In the event that happens, the homeowner is billed for that culvert.
So what
You
happens
must do
if
that.
somebody wants to put a driveway off of Parish Road and we make them get a culvert, but there's no ditch to even put a culvert in?
I had that too, issue.
So,
That's
what do we do about that?
there's a lot of situations
I
like
have
that.
a couple
Yeah,
of
my
them.
situation's like
That
that.
should
at
be
my house.
referred
Somebody reached
to,
out to me about that.
Yeah,
They
I
want to put a
have that.
driveway, you gotta have a culvert, there ain't no ditch.
I would think part of that permit process would have, you know, the parish engineer or superintendent go out there and look at that and make that determination. If it's assessed that you don't need a culvert, then your permit driveway it's signed off and you're
If they're on
complete.
top of a hill or something like
there's
that,
a
they may
lot of
not need a
times you
culvert.
don't need a.
That's a simple problem, actually.
That's the biggest worry I have
People
about
ask it all the
recommending this
time.
permit, is I gotta go out there and look at a lot of them.
At your home or trailer
That's gonna be
or somewhere,
time
and they
consuming.
trying to get to it.
Yeah.
Do you need a culvert, but there ain't no ditch, so.
Ain't no ditch.
On 175, where the museum is at, going into Mar Road, whenever it rain, it come a hard rain, that road floods out. 175, right there in front of that Mar Road, it floods out bad. Cars come through, they come through flying because they're not aware that a big puddle of water is sitting there. And at some point in time, there's gonna be a wreck there. And now who's responsible for that?
We are.
We are,
That-
even though it's
that-
coming off a state road.
That side road is, very familiar with that problem.
Yeah, I think what has
That side
happened-
road is ours, so the drainage is ours, even though it's on the state right of way.
Okay, we want to fix that because it's been going on for a while, and I
It
think
has.
that culvert in there has collapsed.
It-
Reason why it's not
I don't
draining.
know if it's collapsed. It has SET, safety end treatments on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's to capacity. As time has changed and development around it, it's just too much water.
Too much water
coming
going through it.
there.
But it's getting on the road and it sits there and it sits there, and the people coming, they're not aware there's a big puddle of water in the road and they just hit it. And at some point in time,
There is-
And
somebody,
you
there's
also
gonna be a
have
wreck there.
runoff that's coming off of Mar that's going into the highway.
Yeah.
We try to eliminate that. on
I was wondering,
Parish
was it a
Road.
state problem? Because it's being a state highway, I don't think that
But-
state should fix that.
But the parish roads belong to us, so we replaced the
The 84
drainage
side.
basically
Okay.
up to the stop sign,
Okay.
on a state route.
Okay.
And
That's on the list to be repaired.
according to DOTD, the practice is, we don't have to apply for the permit as long as we put it back like kind. If we change the length of it or something like that,
Yeah.
we should get a permit. But if we put it back like it is, or maybe bigger, so it'll carry the capacity, we don't have to do a permit process.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
What would be our path forward? Would it be no official action tonight?
Right.
So would you,
That's where I'm at.
would we recommend out of the committee tonight
Yeah.
that we move forward with an ordinance to define this permit process and define to what limits we're gonna work on these existing culverts? And and from what I'm hearing, it seems like we're in agreement on the new culverts. We don't want to fool with new installations at all. We're gonna do that through the permit process and get out of that business altogether. The existing culverts, there's been some conversation back and forth. Are we satisfied with landing in the middle and still remaining, continuing to replace existing culverts if the homeowner provides, are we gonna provide the culvert or make the homeowner buy it? Would be question one.
Homeowner buy it
I
anyway?
think the
the
homeowner
first
buy it,
one.
we'll install it and put rock on it, and then we're done.
We'll install it, put rock on it, no pavement.
Right, no
So-
concrete.
We can work on trying to draft an ordinance to achieve those goals and then bring it to the jury after we get that, which it won't be next meeting or anything like that.
And that's on parish roads only.
Right.
Want to mention when you say the new driveways, get out of that completely. We're gonna be on the front end with the permit process.
Permit, yes, we'll make.
And we'll be on the
new
back
driveway.
end for the policing to make sure it was done correctly. Other than that, we're out of it.
Right, we won't be constructing them.
Right.
Yeah.
As well, I'm hearing that as well, y'all, it seems to be I don't know if it's a consensus, but we're gonna replace it with just rock, or are we going to get away from doing the concrete on existing?
That's what we
Yeah,
said.
get away
I
from.
wanna make sure, I mean, cause,
Yeah. Replace it with dirt and rock.
okay,
No asphalt, no concrete.
And the permit process is gonna eliminate saying if they wanna put a driveway on the parish road,
sure,
they don't need a culvert or not. So that'll eliminate that.
yeah, that's probably gonna be the first.
And it eliminate the tight culvert that they put in. Well, it won't be a metal, so it rots out in 15 years.
I think the driveway permit's gonna have a lot of benefit to us. You know, right now, if a new commercial business was to show up in the parish, other than maybe catching them at a building permit, we don't even know
Right, what's
going on. You know, if it's an industrial site, they don't have to get a building permit for an industrial site. They just go to start building. We have no access permit that requires them to come to us or the planning commission or anybody else like that. So I think, you know, as far as, and I speak on that just from heavy truck volumes, you know, this will help us know when we might have an increase in truck volumes on an existing road and so forth like that, and also help us with our road management as well.
I'd also like to add that as far as public safety, any of these new permitting processes that are culverts on a parish road that's at 45 miles per hour, we need to consider putting safety end treatments on it. That
Put it on
that
there.
helps solve the problem of somebody getting seriously injured or killed.
Yeah, there was a young man killed on 84
Because it'll ricochet
across
them
from
off.
Stanley School for that very thing.
Right.
This past fall.
And that should be the judgment of the engineer or myself as
Get a
to,
driveway, just square the driveway that turned off 84. Didn't have anything there to,
Like end caps.
no end caps.
those safety end treatments are designed with that slope
Yeah.
and
To go on
that,
top of it.
that veers you off. It's not to say it's not gonna kill you, cause it might make you airborne. Depends on how fast you're traveling.
Better than hitting a brick wall.
But it's better than hitting something solid.
I don't recall what the number is, but I think there's like an industry standard, once you get over a certain size, that you start placing those.
Right.
I don't know if it's 24 or 30, but somewhere in that range. You know, that once you get up to that certain size, where you can actually plant your bumper into the end of that culvert, they require them on a certain speed roadway. I don't know if it'd be necessary for your 15s and so forth. You might just
Right.
ruin a wheel on a 15-inch culvert, but, you know, I think that's kind of the industry standard. But I'd have to do some investigating to recall that exactly.
In my 17 years, I know many times somebody has made a road departure and hit a culvert at a parish road.
Yes.
It's a sudden stop.
We can look at including some of that language in the permit as well.
Mr. Ernell, you had a question, I think. You raised your hand.
I think they covered it.
Well, I thank you for your input, and Michael and I will work on trying to drive something for your consideration that seems to be consistent with the overall feedback that we've received on the culvert issues.
Well, since you asked me, Mike, let me come up with another one. Okay, I had this lady, elderly lady. Her daughter was moving next door to her. This is in a kind of looking neighborhood area. And she needed a culvert to make a driveway for her particular house. And we talked about it, and, well, Frederick's not here, so Fred, I talked about it with Fred, and he said that I think the policy now is they would have to buy the culvert. And she bought the culvert, and our crew came out and put it in. So that's still in place. That's not in place.
That's the current policy.
Yes, that's current policy, but that's not what we're talking about moving
Yeah,
forward.
okay.
Yeah, that would change in the future if we
Yeah.
move forward with this ordinance.
That would change?
Right.
Yes.
Didn't happen.
So I gotta tell the little old ladies that, we can't put a
If this is a
replacement
new construction home.
No, this is not a new construction home.
Okay.
It's been established, been there for a long time. Well, she moving in, her daughter. I guess she should be putting a home there.
So is the daughter putting another driveway next to the?
Right, she had to have a driveway in order to get
that's a
into
new
get into a
driveway.
property, yeah.
So now she'd get a permit.
She had to get a permit.
Any new entrance would fall under the new policy and
Okay.
it'll be on the cost of the homeowner.
Okay, so the culvert itself, would we be able to, would they have to purchase their own?
It'll be at their cost.
Okay, all right. So that's still a stand then, pretty much.
If we move forward with this new policy that we discussed.
Yeah, if the permit policy passes.
Okay.
Well, I guess, one day it is time for a change. We can't keep going in a certain direction. At some point, things do have to change. Yeah.
And we do take those things into consideration. We just had a instance this month where an individual wants to build a wedding venue.
Oh,
And I advised him that he needed to do a commercial entrance that would be at least 60 foot wide, and him buy the culverts, and we would install and move that ditch back off the road. So we would have future access to
That's definitely a
improve our
driveway
road.
that you want wide enough to accommodate.
Right, for
Right,
future
right.
use.
For the business.
And that individual was more than eager to buy all the covers. He used concrete. We don't like to put in concrete, but we done it. That's what he wanted, so. But again, it was to protect the interest of the public in the future and make that a safe roadway.
So I ain't understanding.
That's a bad example, I think, because I think that'd be covered under the driveway permit process in the future, and we wouldn't fool with it.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying,
But,
yeah, we gonna do it for
But
one, we gonna do it for
it's tough on
everybody.
some of our right of ways. I'm sorry, you give me a cut you off.
No, I'm just saying, cause it sounds like me, my thing, if you're gonna do it for one, we gonna do the same thing for
And we
everybody.
will. We'll have to, feel this out and we'll be uniform with it, but the no ditch situation's probably our biggest issue with our driveway permits, where we have little to no ditch existing out there on the roadway. That's gonna be I see as the biggest problem for me approving driveway permits as far as where to put that culvert, and that's why Philip got involved in that one. He wanted to push that ditch back off the road and get it out off the road, and so forth, but
I have a question. So, all the work orders that are in now, because I'm thinking I have one in off of Booker Terrence where she's willing to buy a new culvert because the location of the one that she has, the water or something is eroded. I put in a work order for her. It's been a minute. So my question is, those orders that are already in existence, will they be, they will still fall under this one, right? Until we make the change?
Until this new process is adopted.
Right, we'll have an adoption date and a effective date, and we can address anything pending before the adoption and make
Awesome.
sure that's comprehensive and addressed.
Well, yeah, that's my concern, all pending.
Right. So they're gonna draft up, play around with the permit policy. bring it back to us. We'll review it. See if it's up to the road committee specs. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll put together proposed ordinances and policies. We'll stick it back on the road committee for your consideration for, to pass on to the vote of the police jury as a whole, or to suggest modifications if you don't like it as proposed.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Because we are growing parish, and we are kind of getting outnumbered on the manpower. So time is to cut back on some things and focus on some more other things. So everybody satisfied with item number 1? Discussion, any more discussion on item 1? Okay, we'll move to item 2. Discuss parish-wide public use of roads, not road use permits.
Yeah, we put that in there, that distinguish in there, because that's been a hot topic, road use permits, so I wanted to make sure you understood. We're currently working on, I don't know if y'all remember, about 3 months ago, I told y'all we're working on the road list. We have road lists. We have multiple road lists, okay? The parish secretary maintains one, road superintendent maintains one. We're looking to collate that and provide that to y'all so y'all can review those roads essentially in your various districts. Now those road lists have changed because your districts change every 10 years. So, I mean, they don't change that much, but I think the biggest change probably was this last redistricting, which is still not ratified because of the pending litigation. So, but we're still moving forward with it as if it's this road. So, Michael, you want to add anything?
Yeah, that's what we just wanted to, that's our plan moving forward. We've had a lot of difficulty and so forth determining some roads, is this a parish road, is this not a parish road? We want to compile y'all a list, and it's going to take a lot of effort on our part to do that. Put together a full encompassing list and bring it before you for a vote, and we vote on that list, and that'll give us a direction as for the road department, for the engineering department, for everybody, that we only work on these roads without further action from the jury. You know, if we were to miss a road on that list or mistakenly omit one or put one on there that's not supposed to be on there, the jury can always take action in the future to correct that list. But we would like to have that clear, defined list voted on by the jury, adopted by the jury, that would be the only roads we work on unless y'all take further action in the future.
Okay, then them the roads I was talking about earlier. Cause I got a great concern, cause do like 3 or 4 of them I already mine. Cause it seems like every time I try to get a road fixed, we can't find nothing on it. It ain't no parish road and this, that. That's what I've been researching, cause I'm really finna address Miss.
And Ms. McKay's probably mad at me for asking her every other day about how this law works and so forth.
Yeah, because the law says, now y'all saying doing this thing and then we vote. The law says it's a procedure that we gonna have to follow. To abandon these roads, we just can't up and just abandon and say, well, we voting and this ain't gonna be no parish road no more. Cause I'm telling you, you finna get yourselves in some trouble with that. Because the law, you got to notify people and all that. Did you read the whole thing, what the law said? Cause I done read about 8 times.
We spent a lot of time looking over it, yes, ma'am. And that's what we're gonna go through. We're gonna try to find every road that serves a public function, that has, that is supposed to be a jury road. We're gonna try to identify it on that list. And
Okay, what
like I said, we just gotta have a clear direction. So right now, any foreman that works for Philip can go out there and work on whatever road and say, well, Philip, I thought Woodley been working on that for years. That's, well, oh yeah, you might be right. And then it goes on, and then it's really in turmoil, because now we've worked on it once, and recently, and we don't know if it's a jury road or not. We need a defined list, so Philip can say, what the hell did you work on that road for? It's not on this list. You do this again, you can get wrote up, you know.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Okay, since you're going there. When I first became police jury, I questioned 2-3 roads. One went straight down through a pasture. The other went straight down through a camping ground. But that same rule came up, and they used it where people signed affidavits saying, nope, we've been working on this road for so many years, and it's a parish road. So what you do when we get this list and we look at these roads, and then we got our constituents who gonna question that, saying, now they've been working on our road for 10 years, now all of a sudden you finna tell us you finna abandon it? We're gonna have a problem. That's gonna be a problem. I'm telling you, it is.
And there will be, I'm sure this will bring up an issue that we have to look further into. And we've talked to Ms. McKay about it, and nothing's black and white when it comes to all this. You know, especially these roads that, some of these roads that we're gonna discuss, you know, there'll have to be some in-depth discussion and some hard decisions on some of these roads.
Yeah, because particularly, we done took in a whole bunch of brand-new roads, and then these roads that we've been maintaining for years, y'all just gonna kick them to the side. Y'all think these people ain't gonna have a problem with that? They are. I mean, sometimes we have to stop and think. You talking about the taxpayers, that you gonna have to come back sooner or later asking to pass a tax.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, on that situation there, where workers have been working on some of these roads, I think there's been several situations where workers have worked on roads knowing they weren't a parish road. And when you say write them up, that ain't good enough for me. For me, they need to be fired, because they're supposed to have a work order to do any work. And if they didn't get a work order, and they're working on a road without a work order, then they're doing it illegal. And by God, get rid of their ass. I don't want them working for me if they're gonna do that.
And this list
So
will help
write-up
us
is
with
not
that.
good enough.
Yeah.
And we can find out whether these roads that have been worked on for these people have had work orders out on them or not. And if they never had a work order, then they're not a public road. Somebody was doing it under the table, behind other people's backs, or whatever. And that has got to stop.
I mean,
We're not gonna work on a road and bring it into the parish. We're not gonna work on a road because some foreman decided to work on it, and then he's gonna say later, well, we've been working that road, so we're gonna bring it in parish. By God, no. That ain't good enough. He didn't have a work order and he's been working that road, fire him.
So that's part of my concern, is that there's a number of ways that roads can become public. But there are also prohibitions for the government officially taking actions on private roads, because it could be a prohibited donation of public assets that just benefit, a private individual. And so everyone is a taxpayer, but the law requires an overall sort of public benefit to give away assets. I mean, you can't, just because you're a taxpayer, you can't come in here and say, I need a ream of paper, I pay taxes. It doesn't work that way. So part of this process is, because historically there are, I think, some record-keeping gaps that have been being addressed. We need to kind of have a better comprehensive approach and idea what we think is a public road and what might be a public road because it's been worked on, or might still be a private private road because the work has not been at the level or authorized in such a manner that it became a public road. And so there's numerous ways roads can become public, and we need to have a better handle on what is a public road and what's a private road, so we can make sure we comply with our legal requirements in terms of maintaining it or not.
And I think this list will be a great start to identify that.
We got to start somewhere.
Right, but I just want to make sure we within the law while we doing it. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I try to keep in mind other taxpayers, because that's who we work for. We lose sight a lot of times of who our boss is. My boss is the taxpayer. And I'm gonna always keep the taxpayer in mind. And I'm telling y'all from experience, if y'all think for one instance these people not gonna have a problem with that, I just want you to get in the mind, get it in your mind, cause they are. They gonna have a problem with that, and y'all gonna be hearing from them. If it's any of these roads in your district, believe me, you gonna hear from these people. I could pull my cell phone out right now and give y'all all kind of where I be getting texts and emails and stuff from people about these roads. And most of these roads that they talking about is roads that I had to take in my district this last time they did reapportionment. Then I get more complaints from those roads than any of them. And if some of these roads you talking about is the roads that I'm already getting a complaint, I can just imagine. What I'm saying is we have to keep in mind when we doing things, we just can't think about the jury. We gonna need the taxpayer always. Always, we gonna need the taxpayer. So we can't expect the taxpayers to give back to us when we taking so much away from them. That's what I'm trying to get into y'all head.
And there'll be some questions to this list, and there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And then we'll just have to come together as a group with legal advice and our expertise of the group and make a decision on that road to if it meets the criteria that just Ms. McKay talked about. You know, if it's in my opinion, if it's a road that serves one house on one parcel of land, it's illegal for us to put jury money into that road, other than some handicap driveway program or something like that.
Well, you talking about Henderson Lane, but them gonna get you straight.
not
It's about 20 people live up to the end of that little road.
Henderson actually has multiple parcels and multiple houses. I'm talking
Exactly.
about, we have
Yeah.
roads that are public roads.
Just
that
one
serve
house.
One house on one piece of property. And
A mile
nothing
long.
else.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, cause y'all just fixed one. The man called me out Fire Town. He said, Miss Red, only one person live on that road.
But-
And they, see, that's what I'm talking about.
Then, you know, some of the more complicated ones would be one parcel of land with 3 homes on it, or 3 structures on it. You know, you have a family. They never divided the property. There's a driveway going to one house. They added a few more houses. Another example would be one house that crosses 2 properties, you know. But there's lots of scenarios we're going to have to weed out and so forth like that, you know, but it'll just, as those issues arise, we're just asking you, are y'all, as the road committee, is that the direction you'd like us to move forward with developing that list so we can hash those issues out and develop a working list that we can have for day-to-day use here at the office?
Yeah, most definitely. And there are some roads that people will voluntarily release back, so they can take ownership back of the property that's serving no public use at all.
There's some of them on our list.
Some of those are gonna be voluntary.
I bet some of them on our list, people
'Cause
don't
they
even
wanna
know
put
they're
a
on
gate
the
up.
list.
That's correct.
And the key is that serves public use.
Yes.
That's in the law.
It's the road
I just-
committee, right?
Yeah.
Wanted to mention one other thing, going back to the culverts. Every few months, it seems, this body approves the naming of a private drive.
Yeah.
When y'all doing that, there's usually a road there, and it probably has a culvert. And they rename it and put a private road sign. So this permit system, if that culvert needs replacing, that's on them, right?
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Private drive.
Private
Says exactly what it is.
Yeah. I agree.
I'll make sure we put that language in there so we
Gotta get it off.
Okay, one other question about just up in the air. School bus. You know, like a road you're saying, mile long down the road, school bus can't get in and out. Well, the school board pay for that, right? they would have to pay for that upkeep of, just to get that bus in there. Correct, or,
And turn around.
I would be willing to bet they would not.
Seem like they've done that in the
They're gonna
past, if
bring
I
'em out
recall.
to the road.
Seem like
They'll bring them out
Okay,
to the road, yeah.
seem like they've done it in the past, though.
I'd say most of these roads that might not make the cut,
Yeah.
school bus isn't driving down.
don't drive, okay, that's my
The
concern.
ones that we've had challenges with,
How
and
many
I'm just
do
gonna
we
use the
might
one
be?
in Firestone, I'm most familiar with, the Stonehaven
we don't
Private Drive. You know,
Yeah.
we've had to do work on the bus turnaround in the back, so that bus can make the turn in the back. And that's been a kind of an ongoing, on and off issue. So, but, yeah, Michael's right, I don't think they go down those roads. that you're-
Okay,
Well, I got 2 phone calls this week from the school board. I passed them over to Mr. Phillip, where he said specifically, you know, I'm telling you to do this, you send us a bill, we'll reimburse you for that.
Right.
These,
So they
these,
are still doing that.
right, these school
Okay,
buses, we have a form. There was a,
A CEA, we just,
Right, we just
CEA
adopted the
adopted.
CEA.
So
They
when
would
you
like-
give me those requests, we'll go out and estimate it and then give it to the school board to get their approval. They're gonna pay for material.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's why I
That's
gave
what
you
I'm
that
saying.
member's name, so you
Right.
could put that on that paperwork.
But I think
That's where
that,
they're at now. They gotta go to the school board to
Yep.
get approved.
but I think that's uniquely different from what Mr. Ross was referring to. He's talking about if a road's a mile long, is a bus gonna go down it? Do we maintain that road? Are we gonna, is the school board gonna pay to
Correct.
fix that road?
Yeah.
No, that's not, I don't think that's ever been an issue that we've had to deal with, that, to my knowledge. It's always been, materials associated with the bus turnarounds and whatnot, so.
I mean, just here recently, the school board took a stance on, I don't know if it was officially or just a bus driver or who it was, but they said they're not gonna go down private drives. I mean, I think, what, was Stonehaven, wasn't that one they were trying to make an issue out of?
They go down
They
Stonehaven.
do, they go down plenty of them. but
They
at
go
one
down
point
a
in
lot.
time,
yeah,
They, you know,
okay.
But, that's the school board. We can't,
Right.
can't control them, so.
So, any more discussion on culverts? Parish-wide public use roads?
You know down Road, right? What's that road? Is it Simpson Road coming off of Down Road, going back off in there? School bus have to go back off, way back up in there.
Or is it drain?
Maybe Drain,
I know it's just drain road.
maybe Drain Road.
So off of
But-
Sample Road, what do you,
I think
Dahl Road.
off of Down Road.
Drain Road.
Road, I thought it was Simpson Road, cut off of Down Road to go back, way back in there, but the bus driver has to go pick up one child. But he really don't have anywhere to turn around, so he go in, it pretty much made him a way to come out, turn around and come out.
Thinking it's gotta
I
be
think we
drain.
put a culvert back in there, a few months ago.
well, that's those issues that Mr. Stacy was talking about, where the school board can call us and we'd
Yeah.
go correct that turnaround for
of course,
them.
if
Okay,
it needs a
okay.
culvert and a place to turn around,
Turn
we give
around.
Okay.
them,
You probably
we
need a
give
place
them
to
that
turn around.
cost and they have to approve it.
Okay,
Just a reimbursement.
okay.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
What about off a cemetery? It's on the,
Slippery slope too.
Yeah, that's a-
Yeah, that's another.
Be treated just like everybody else.
I mean, the road,
We,
But if
Talking
it's
about
the
the
call, like a
oh, we're
culvert
back to
too?
culverts. All right, you
Just-
guys are
just-
bouncing around on me.
It's not public.
It's not public.
right, we,
Not commercial either, is it? Commercial.
It's owned by LLC or something.
yeah, we started that
Somebody
Treated
owns
a
just
while
like
back.
anything else.
Somebody owns cemetery.
We voted to do that.
But I don't think it got anywhere for that. We did a
We
lot of
voted to
research
do
on
the
that.
Cemeteries, I remember that.
We voted to maintain
The
cemetery roads.
uh-huh.
Okay.
So we can look into that.
We can look into
They,
that.
we have a list that we made of every cemetery in the
Right.
parish.
Yeah, make a
And they
list.
were wanting to,
Let's check that.
maintain inside the cemetery. And
Right, that didn't.
that didn't pass. That's,
Maintain the entrance, I mean, that shouldn't be terrible.
Okay.
Maintain.
Cause, I mean,
Yeah, we did. I mean,
there
check
again,
it
you
out.
got
We
to
voted.
enter
Right.
into that factor, is it
I
a
can tell
public
you too,
safety
the
issue,
cemetery
that
that was
drainage?
already done. One
It'd
up
be
right
my
there on
road.
Gill Street and the
most,
other on down
Gonna be cemetery.
behind the old high low.
Then it'll be everything
One
else.
right there.
most cemeteries, the entrance is mostly a public or parish road, if I'm not
Right there at the
mistaken,
connection,
to get to the cemetery,
Yeah.
most of them.
the connection right there.
There's 4 in Keachai.
One of them was up there. off-
But the
At
road
least 4
from the
of them are
parish
under
or state
Keachai.
route should be theirs to the cemetery,
Ask one of them, that's the cease.
Okay.
Can't ask nobody to.
unless it's a parish road.
Well, that's what I'm saying, most,
Some of them you just park.
some
on
of
the
them parish
roadway,
road go, yeah.
Or
On
state
sta- on Stagecoach, you just park on the road.
Yeah, right, it's on the road, yeah, yeah. True. Yeah.
And it's terrible right there from the street good, terrible.
in a
I
bad
hate to
spot.
have to be somebody there.
You're at the top of a hill, they come in both ways.
Yep, I got stuck in the middle of the road coming down the hill.
I mean, it could
It's
be
in the
a
field.
church, it can be a,
Association, we have
We took care of that.
So,
donation.
any more discussion on the covers and the
I don't know who takes care of
parish wide?
it. Pay us somebody to come mow it all.
We appreciate y'all coming and attending the workshop. I mean, we're gonna try to do this a little more often.
And hey, we might have to have another workshop. So, I mean, once you get everything, it might kick out a committee and come back to the workshop, just however it's directed to go. I think we'll be prepared to take care of it.
But we would like to have one before, budgeting comes around for the year, just talk about roads in the future.
Right, right.
Maybe July or something like that, we maybe look at discussing some future roadway projects and so forth.
I think that list would be good, keep down confusion, everybody on the same page, to know what's parish and what's not parish. And if there's no more discussion, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Nick.
Second.
Oh, I ain't in the committee, I ain't in the committee.
Okay.
First, I
I
got
got a motion.
I got a motion.
We got a motion in a second. All in favor, aye.
gosh,
We adjourn.
on time to do a motion. I'm looking down, oh, I mean, at the committee, I'm like, aren't all y'all here?
Him right there. He's the one.
Happy Friday Eve. Yeah, I know you're tired.
Right, stay.
Oh, he's always clean every time I see you.
All right, take care.
See what he says.
Y'all getting ready for
Oh, yeah.
Practicing now.
Yeah.